The backlog of South Africa's driving licence cards remains stubbornly high, sitting at around 540,000. Efforts to procure a new card printing machine are on hold following a declaratory order application. This has pushed the turnaround time for new licence cards to around 2 months, with delays expected to stretch well into 2026. Now, the current machine in use for over 2 decades has broken down at least 160 times, causing 38 lost working days in 2025 alone. The Department of Transport has reportedly spent 12 million rand on repairs this year, drawing sharp criticism from civil society groups like Alta and growing calls from the Western Cape government and others for a permanent solution. To give us an update on where things stand, I'm joined by the Department of Transport spokesperson, Colin Msibi. Msibi, thanks for your time and appreciate you coming onto the show.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks for having us.
So let's talk about where we are at the moment. Just how much of what I've said in that intro reflects the correct position?
Well, the position are quite correct. The backlog is sitting at 539,000. But also at the same time, same breath, we have printed over 34,000 cards that have already been printed since the 11th of August up to now. So the 834, we're counting the period from the 8th of May up until now, the 11th of August. So we're saying that there's quite progress. As much as we would want to deal with the backlog as soon as possible, but it is, of course, humanly impossible to do so. We have moved to a 24-hour shift, which is going to push basically the backlog quite faster than what it would normally be. You would remember we've said before that the daily printing, we produce about 7,000 cards on a daily basis. But with the 24-hour shift, we're looking at about 22,000. So we are quite confident that that's going to help.
So that's obviously excluding downtime, because you've lost 38 days in 2025 alone. The machine has broken down 160 times. So if you are doubling your shift, if you're going from a 12-hour shift to a 24-hour shift, can we say that there's potentially going to be a doubling, or at least an increased number of times, that machine is going to be out of service?
Well, I don't know what you're talking about. There isn't any downtime that has happened up to from the 8th of May up to now. So there isn't any downtime. It hasn't broken down as yet. But of course, we're quite aware that this is an old machine. Anything is possible. It can once again do what it does. But at this point, we are optimistically confident that there's nothing that will happen.
Okay, now we do know that you were in the process, or at least the department was in the process of procuring a new machine.
Yes, we're in the process of procuring a new machine. But that process, you would know, there was an appointment which was done. So we've had to approach the courts. Why? Because of the Auditor General, and there were findings by the Auditor General in the matter. A decision was made because once there are findings in the process, it simply just means that there's obviously some issues with the procurement process. So we've had to make that decision to say, look, we've got to approach the court to get a declaratory order on the matter, and that is what has happened.
What were some of these findings?
Well, some of the findings in the main relates to the prescripts, that in terms of the supply chain management prescripts, those were not followed to the latter. But also there was an issue about the visit to Europe to see this particular machine that we're trying to procure, where then a different machine was seen by the committee, which of course...
Sorry, what do you mean a different machine? Not the machine that you wanted to purchase, they saw another machine?
Certainly. I think in terms of the report by the Auditor General is that I would say a Toyota that you wanted to buy And when you actually go and see the Toyota, you don't see the actual Toyota that you are purchasing, you see something else. So that's basically brings in some questions in terms of how would you then know that what type of a machine you are
Were you a
procuring.
part of this committee that travelled?
Well, there is a bid committee which is in charge of this. Obviously, the department that belongs to the DLCA, which is part of the department, but it is a committee that did that. So the members of the committee, they travelled.
Were you a part of that team
no.
that travelled?
Personally?
Yes.
No, I wasn't part of
Okay.
it.
So from what we understand, they travelled to France to see a machine that actually wasn't in France, that the machine was either in the Czech Republic or Greece. Was it a case of misrepresentation by the supplying company, or was it something else that resulted in them being shown a machine that's not the one that they wanted to purchase?
Look, our conclusions are based on the findings by the Auditor General.
Yes.
So we're not quite sure of the details when it comes to that. Hence, some of these issues will be ventilated in court. But at this point, as we sit, I cannot tell you whether that machine they saw cannot do the same work that was supposed to be done by the other one. So, but these are issues that were picked up by the Auditor General. You therefore cannot ignore it. In fact, in terms of the PFMA, it says, I think it's Section 81, once you become aware that there are issues of procurement, such as this one, but you still go ahead as an accounting officer, in this case, the Director General, then it becomes a financial misconduct. So therefore, the Director General, his hands are tied. So hence it was important to say, probably let's go to court, ventilate these issues and see what the court says. I mean, we cannot, you obviously would have an uproar. You continue when the Auditor General has said these issues with this procurement. I can tell you now that if we had decided that we're going to continue, you would be asking me a different sets of questions. To say, how can you, when the Auditor General has said there are issues with this? So hence we've said, let's go to court and let's hear what the court says on this matter.
Now, Mr. Msibi, we go back almost 10 years to when this procurement process started, from what I understand. It's taken a long time to procure this machine. Why has it taken so long?
No, it is not 10 years. We went to Cabinet in 2022. I think it was August 2022, to say that we would want to procure machines, but also to get the new driver's license cards with various features which would basically improve the safety of the card. And then we went on tender, I think in November, if I'm not mistaken, November 2022. But we couldn't find a suitable service provider at the time. And then we went back again in April 2023. So this process where we are is the one that started in 2023. So it's definitely not 10 years.
Okay. Now, one of the issues, obviously, is around the delays. So it's now taking anything between 8 and 9 weeks before individuals can receive their driver's licenses. Do you expect this to improve in the short term? Is this acceptable? What would be the ideal for you?
Well, the ideal situation is obviously to reduce that to about 4 weeks in terms of getting the license card. But we've got to be realistic. While we deal with the backlog, there's more applications that
Correct.
come. On a daily basis, I think we get about 10,000 or about 11,000 new applications. So while you reduce your backlog, you can't therefore ignore the 10,000 that comes on a daily basis. So you've got to balance those applications. And hence, it takes us a little bit longer. We forecast December that we should be able to deal with this matter. But let me also say this. Look, the court processes may take longer. So as a department, we've worked under the instructions of the minister. We've been working on an interim solution with the Department of Home Affairs. We've even signed an MOA with them to say that an interim solution has to be found, because we can't say, well, the machine is giving us problems, but the procurement process is also having problems. Therefore, let's wait for the courts.
So, Mr. Msibi, very quickly, what would that interim solution look like for you?
Well, look, I wouldn't want to go into the details, but it simply just means that the card has to be printed elsewhere at Home Affairs. I think that is basically the summary of it. But in terms of the details, I think devil is in the detail. I think we would have an opportunity at some point to make a pronouncement on it. And I think the interim solution is actually at a touching distance. So it's not far from now. So we should be able to pronounce on it.
Mr. Msibi, I appreciate your time and thank you for coming onto the show.
Thank you so much.